Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, state of emergency. At least 1,000 homes threatened by two major wildfires in Georgia that have burned more than 34,000 acres as dry conditions and high winds fuel an outbreak of wildfires across the southeast.
I'm Morgan Norwood on the fire line here in Georgia with a look at what's being done to stop this path of destruction.
War in Iran. President Trump orders the U.S. military to shoot and kill Iranian boats laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, insisting that the U.S. is in total control of the strait.
I'm Mary Bruce at the White House. I'll have the latest on the standoff over the Strait of Hormuz and when negotiations to end the war in Iran may resume.
In a historic shift, the president eases federal restrictions on medical marijuana products licensed by the states, reclassifying them as less dangerous substances, putting them in the same category as some pain medications and testosterone. What does this mean for overall marijuana use in the U.S.? Prince Jackson, son of the legendary Michael Jackson, sits down with us tonight for a rare interview. I ask him what it's like to see his family's life recreated in a new biopic on the big screen and what fans might learn about the King of Pop. And it is NFL Draft Night. We're there in Pittsburgh with the players and the fans, and we'll tell you why the presumed #1 pick will be watching from home.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us on this Thursday night. As the saying goes, chaos stalks the globe. We're following a mall shooting, a DOJ arrest over a soldier allegedly betting on prediction markets, and a rare wildfire outbreak across the southeast. Tonight, hundreds of people have been forced to evacuate in parts of Florida and Georgia. Authorities say dozens of new fires have broken out over the last 24 hours. Tonight, firefighters are battling the flames on the ground and in the air. More than 50 homes were destroyed in one county alone. Thousands of acres burned. Wooded areas have been reduced to smoldering ashes. The fires were fueled by the worst drought in the area in more than 2 decades. Take a look at helicopters loading huge buckets for water drops over the flames. And there's growing concern tonight about air quality. Smoky skies from Atlanta to the Carolinas. Lee Goldberg with red flag warnings across the U.S. and the new severe storm threat tonight. ABC's Morgan Norwood leads us off from the scene.
Tonight, new evacuation orders in Georgia and more homes lost as hundreds of firefighters battle multiple wildfires.
We currently have 87 living spaces that have been destroyed. If this fire doesn't shift, we could have more than that before dark tonight.
Authorities say in the past 24 hours, at least 34 new fires have broken out across the state. The two largest, the 5,000-acre Highway 82 fire outside Savannah in Brantley County, and the nearly 30,000-acre Pineland Road fire south of there, are both still out of control. Our Matt Rivers behind the fire lines.
The fire here in Brantley County exploded incredibly quickly. You can see there's still hot spots back there. This is what's left of a mobile home completely destroyed by this fire. Dozens of people forced to flee with nothing to come back to.
My house is gone.
The loss for so many here, overwhelming.
Oh my God.
Caitlin Strait gasping at the destruction of her family's home.
Look at my stove.
Hers, one of more than 50 homes that county officials say have been lost so far. In Atkinson, Georgia, we met Craig Jacobs and his 6-year-old daughter, Cora, putting out hotspots in their own backyard. Their home was spared.
It's very heartbreaking to see our neighbors going through what they're going through, but we're out here doing what we can do, pulling together as a community.
Jacobs is also a firefighter. Many here battling the fires while worrying about their own homes.
There's so much at stake for them on a number of fronts. Morgan Norwood joins us now. So what's the latest on that battle?
You know, Lindsay, authorities here in Brantley County are calling this a dynamic fire with conditions worsening by the minute. The big concern here, of course, has been the winds that continue to gust and push all of this fire around, with concern tonight that officials may even have to call in FEMA for additional resources as they race to get these fires under control. Lindsay.
Morgan Norwood for us there in Georgia. Morgan, thank you. Meteorologist Lee Goldberg is tracking it all for us. Hi, Lee.
Hey, Lindsay. So we're going to see fire risk and severe weather basically be themes of the forecast for days on end, at least into early next week. We have poor air quality and elevated fire risk still in the southeast, historically dry conditions, the blowing smoke, making air quality alerts across parts of the Carolinas and into Georgia, and we'll see more of that tomorrow. And then you have your red flag warnings out west from New Mexico all the way into Minnesota with the very low humidities and gusty winds. And then you have the severe weather. Tornado watches out Oklahoma City to Fort Dodge. We've already had one tornado reported in Iowa, numerous tornado warnings through the evening hours. That tornado watch will go until 11 o'clock tonight. The severe risk then shifts south and east as we go into the day on Friday, more from East Texas into parts of Mississippi. That includes Little Rock and over to Jackson as well with large hail. And even worse severe risk will happen on Saturday as the threat goes back into the plains from Wichita to Fort Smith, large hail and some tornadoes as well. We're going to see multiple rounds of this into early next week. The one positive, Lindsay, is that some of that rain from these systems will get into the southeast over the weekend, and also some beneficial rain from D.C. to New York on Saturday. Lindsay?
Much needed on that front. Lee, thank you. Authorities say that a U.S. Special Forces soldier is under arrest. The soldier was involved in the U.S. operation to capture Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro and is now accused of pocketing nearly $500,000 for betting on Maduro's capture before President Trump announced that he'd been captured. Here's our Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, a U.S. Special Forces soldier involved in the daring military operation that captured Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela is under arrest for allegedly pocketing nearly $500,000 by betting on the top-secret raid before it even happened. Gannon Ken Van Dyke was part of the U.S. Special Forces that moved under the cover of darkness to snatch the Venezuelan leader. Days earlier, federal prosecutors say Van Dyke began placing bets totaling more than $33,000 on Polymarket that Maduro would be removed from office by the end of January. Polymarket said that series of bets net Van Dyke more than $400,000. Back when President Trump announced the U.S. had captured Maduro, he praised the troops involved.
These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position.
But tonight, one of them is now charged with fraud and unlawful use of confidential government information for personal gain, marking the first time the Justice Department is prosecuting someone for exploiting inside knowledge to win big on a prediction market. Tonight, the president was asked if he's concerned government insiders are getting rich by betting on prediction markets.
It sounds like he was betting on his removal from office, that Maduro would be removed. It sounds like he was involved in the operation.
That's like Pete Rose betting on his own team. It's a little like Pete Rose. Pete Rose, they kept him out of the Hall of Fame because he bet on his own team. Now, if he bet against his team, that would be no good, but he bet on his own team. I'll look into it.
The president was also asked tonight, Lindsay, about betting in connection with the war in Iran and whether he had any concerns about insider trading there. The president said the whole world has become something of a casino. He said he doesn't like it, but it's a crazy world. Lindsay?
Aaron, thank you. We move on now to breaking developments in the war in Iran. President Trump today ordered the U.S. Navy to shoot and kill any boat laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. And in the Oval Office this afternoon, the president was asked how much longer Americans can expect this war to last and how long will the gas prices remain high. Mary Bruce is at the White House with the president's responses.
Tonight, showdown in the Strait. President Trump announcing he has ordered the military to, quote, shoot and kill any Iranian boats that may be laying mines in the vital passageway. The U.S. is also enforcing its own blockade of Iranian ports.
We intend to conduct the boarding of your vessel,
stopping tankers from coming or going. It comes after Iran flexed its own muscles. Iranian state TV broadcasting this produced video claiming to show masked soldiers boarding a commercial cargo ship, guns in hand. Tonight, no plans for the two sides to resume negotiations.
I don't want to rush myself. I'm not under any pressure whatsoever.
The president says he extended the ceasefire with no end date to give Iran time to draw up their own peace proposal. Trump insisting the regime is fractured and, quote, in turmoil.
They have all new leadership and they're fighting like cats and dogs.
But security sources we spoke with paint a different picture of the Iranian regime, not one of chaos and turmoil. One source familiar with the intelligence tells ABC News there is no clear evidence of fractures at the level of core decision-making. Tonight, Iran's foreign minister insists Iran's state institutions continue to act with unity, purpose, and discipline. At the war's outset, Trump predicted it would last 4 to 6 weeks. It's now heading into week 9. The president today saying that's not much compared to other conflicts.
We were in the Korean War for 7 years.
But reporters pressing.
I mean, what do you say to the American people who question how much longer this will take? Obviously, you know that they are having higher...
You're such a disgrace. Did you hear what I just said? Vietnam. How many years was Vietnam?
Reporters then asking about gas prices, now averaging more than $4 a gallon, up more than $1 since the start of the war.
If you need more time, does that mean Americans should anticipate spending more on gasoline for the foreseeable future?
For a little while. And you know what they get for that? You know what they get for that? Iran without a nuclear weapon.
That has been his main thrust from the beginning. Mary Bruce joins us now from the White House. And Mary, we know late today the president had an update on the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. What did he have to say on that?
Yeah, Lindsay, the president announcing a 3-week extension of that ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, where Israel has been striking Iranian-backed Hezbollah targets. Iran had insisted and been pushing for this ceasefire as a condition for broader peace talks. But again, Lindsay, those talks still not on the books.
Mary, thank you. 2 years after President Biden's Justice Department successfully blocked JetBlue's purchase of Spirit Airlines based on antitrust grounds, Spirit is now at imminent risk of shutting down if they don't get a reported $500 million bailout from the federal government. But that possible bailout is receiving some tough scrutiny from both sides of the aisle. Elizabeth Schulze has the latest. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hey, Lindsay, a possible financial lifeline for Spirit Airlines is facing backlash from lawmakers here in Washington and also from some of the budget air carrier's own creditors. A source familiar with the matter tells us that Spirit Airlines is close to finalizing a deal where the Trump administration could give it a loan of up to $500 million. A lawyer for Spirit Airlines did confirm today that the federal government is in very advanced discussions with the company about a financing package. We are told that that package could also include the option for the government to take a major stake, up to 90%, in the company. In new statements today, the pilot and the flight attendants unions are strongly advocating in favor of this relief plan from the Trump administration, saying that federal relief is not a handout. It's a loan that will allow the airline to finish the work that's already well underway, and it is the right call for 14,000 workers, nearly 2,000 pilots, and the families who depend on those paychecks. But the possibility of a bailout is sparking bipartisan backlash. Republican Senator Ted Cruz posted that this is an absolutely terrible idea. The government doesn't know a damn thing about running a failed budget airline. Spirit has already filed for bankruptcy twice. It is at risk of imminently shutting down as it struggles to pay for jet fuel, which has roughly doubled since the start of the Iran war. A deal with the government would mean that it avoids becoming the first significant U.S. airline in 25 years to shut down because of financial trouble.
And just a short time ago, Spirit Airlines President and CEO David Davis said this in a statement: "We are grateful for President Trump's support and look forward to continuing to work with him and his administration on a solution that protects thousands of jobs, preserves and enhances competition, and helps ensure Americans continue to have access to affordable fares." Late today, a deadly shooting at a shopping mall in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At least one person was killed and 10 others were wounded. Police believe two groups got into an argument before it all escalated. Here's ABC's Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, Baton Rouge in shock after one person was killed and 5 others injured when gunfire erupted at the Mall of Louisiana.
Teams clearing first floor, north and south.
Police descending on the scene shortly before 1:30 this afternoon after a dispute at the mall turned into a gunfight.
Two groups of people got into an argument inside the food court and started shooting at each other. Unfortunately, there were some innocent people that were in the area that might have also caused some rounds.
The suspects then fleeing the mall, police deploying helicopters and drones and searching a nearby canal. The mall placed on lockdown, authorities scrambling to evacuate shoppers. Our affiliate WBRZ showing police escorting families with young children through the shopping center's parking lot. One mall worker describing chaos and indiscriminate gunplay.
I heard a loud pop and then another pop. I thought at first somebody was shooting fireworks in the food court. He was turning around, shooting randomly.
Lindsay, we're just getting word from the mayor of Baton Rouge that 5 people have been arrested in this mass shooting. But Lindsay, tonight this remains an active investigation.
Pierre, thank you. Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders today voted to approve the $111 billion merger with Paramount Skydance. Under the pay packages proposed to executives, Warner Brothers CEO David Zaslav could receive up to $887 million if the sale is completed. The Department of Justice sent subpoenas in late March seeking information on how the merger would affect studio output, content rights, streaming competition, and movie theaters. New video shows the dramatic moments where hikers in Guatemala had to scramble away from an active volcano that suddenly began erupting. ABC's Victor Oquendo has those details.
Tonight, the heart-pounding moment a volcano in Guatemala suddenly erupted just as tourists were climbing toward the crater. The group forced to turn around and race down the slope to safety. A massive plume of ash shooting in the air, sending debris raining down. Video posted on Facebook showing panicked hikers nearby capturing that eruption from the ground just as they scrambled to escape a giant ash cloud and dodge flying rocks. Carlos Porres captured that eruption from a nearby peak.
We saw a group of tourists go too close to the crater of the volcano, and they were surprised by the eruption.
Santiaguito is an active volcano, nicknamed the Death Trail, and one of the most dangerous in Central America because of sudden eruptions spewing ash, rock, and toxic gas. Tourists are banned from hiking there, but they routinely ignore restrictions.
Back here at home, the 2026 NFL Draft is underway tonight, and the Las Vegas Raiders just made the first overall pick.
With the first pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Indiana.
No surprise there. The Raiders selected Indiana Hoosiers quarterback and reigning Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza. Mendoza chose to sit out the draft festivities in Pittsburgh tonight, though, opting instead to celebrate his selection with family and friends in his hometown of Miami. Coming up, Oz the Mentalist visits ABC ahead of hosting the White House Correspondents' Dinner, how he hopes to get inside President Donald Trump's head. Plus, the historic policy shift by the Department of Justice reclassifying medical marijuana to a less dangerous drug, why they made this change and what the order means. And ahead of the premiere of Michael Jackson's biopic, we're joined by his son Prince to get an inside look into the movie that promises to give us a front row seat to the King of Pop as we've never seen before. Welcome back, everyone. Today, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche signed an order reclassifying state-licensed medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug. The order moves medical marijuana from the Schedule I category of the Controlled Substances Act, reserved for drugs with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse, to the Schedule III category, placing it alongside some pain medications like ketamine and testosterone. This does not mean that marijuana is legal at the federal level. Let's look further into the order and marijuana use by the numbers. This puts federal guidelines in line with 40 U.S. states, as well as Washington, D.C., and 3 territories where medical marijuana is legal. The process of rescheduling actually started in 2022 when then President Biden asked the DEA and HHS to look into it. The HHS recommended rescheduling the drug in 2023 and acknowledged marijuana had an accepted medical use. And 4 months ago, President Trump signed an executive order to expedite the process. Cannabis is the most widely used illegal drug in the U.S. The CDC says an estimated 61.9 million people used it in 2022. Now, as we mentioned, this order applies to state-licensed medical marijuana, but Blanche also said that the Justice Department and DEA would start the process of possibly reclassifying all marijuana to Schedule III. The DEA is planning a hearing on this for late June. And we are joined now by Safira Galoob, Executive Director of the U.S. Cannabis Roundtable. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, so what kind of changes will this reclassification allow for medical marijuana in the U.S.?
Well, thanks for having me, Lindsay. I mean, you mentioned in your introduction that this really marks a significant change in the status of cannabis from a Schedule I to Schedule III. But what it really means is access to a really important medicine for patients and for consumers in a safe way.
And what is the significance of medical marijuana specifically being classified as Schedule III of all categories?
So as a Schedule III, we now have federal legality that it is not just commonly accepted medical use, but it has a low abuse potential. So it's much more appropriately placed on the schedule, not next to opioids or heroin. And so with that new classification, we really believe we're going to open the guardrails for research and just allow more people to consider cannabis for their wellness and their well-being and frankly, in lieu of other dangerous drugs.
And what will this mean for state programs that are already in place, as well as states that haven't fully legalized any marijuana?
You know, for states that have programs, and you mentioned there are 40 states that have legal medical cannabis, there won't be an interference with those states. We think that with the federal government acknowledging commonly accepted medical use and the efficacy and benefits of cannabis, that more states will actually consider access to cannabis for their population. And we really think this reform is the first step to kind of unlocking and unleashing the possibilities of this plant.
We also mentioned that an upcoming hearing will start looking into reclassifying all marijuana. What might determine if that goes through?
You know, with that process starting late June, we expect there'll be additional evaluation. And knowing that there are state legal programs in 24 states with adult use cannabis, we are optimistic that all cannabis will be rescheduled, and that will really be the beginning of reform and the change in laws that cannabis have really deserved for decades.
So overall, in your opinion, it sounds like you think that this is a good idea.
Not only is it a good idea for, from a policy perspective and from a medical research perspective, it's a good idea kind of logically. You know, cannabis has been used for hundreds of years, thousands of years. And as you mentioned, it's more widely used than almost any other plant-based drug for people who have pain and who have ailments for which opioids and other prescription drugs are more dangerous. So we think it's an outstanding idea, and we're really excited about the reform and thank President Trump for his leadership.
Safira Galoob, we thank you so much. Coming up, the newly approved gene therapy that could be a game changer for those with inherited hearing loss. And a Seattle Mariners pitcher finds a unique way to make a catch, but did it count? Welcome back to Prime. Here's a look at the stories making headlines right now. We start with a wildfire emergency across the southeast. Fires have spread across Georgia and Florida, leaving a path of destruction and forcing thousands of residents to evacuate. In Georgia, at least 34 new fires have broken out in just the last 24 hours. Sources tell ABC News that a U.S. Special Forces soldier involved in the military operation that captured Nicolas Maduro was arrested for betting on the raid before it even happened. Federal prosecutors said that the soldier placed a bet on Polymarket that Maduro would be removed from office by the end of January. That service member allegedly then made more than $400,000. He is now charged with fraud and unlawful use of confidential government information for personal gain. A California mother was arrested after her 14-year-old son allegedly hit an elderly man while riding an e-motorcycle earlier this month. The mom faces a number of charges, including felony child endangerment and accessory. Prosecutors say that she had repeatedly been warned about allowing her son to ride the e-motorcycle illegally. Officials said that the teen was doing wheelies when he crashed into the 81-year-old veteran, who's now in critical condition. And the FDA has approved the first ever gene therapy for inherited hearing loss. The drug is called Otarmany, and it's shown to restore hearing for children with a rare condition. The treatment is a one-time surgery. Studies show that many children go from no measurable hearing to detecting sounds and in some cases recognizing speech. The pharmaceutical company Regeneron said that it will offer the therapy free of charge to eligible patients. And still ahead, our Jonathan Karl sits down with mentalist Oz Perlman ahead of his hosting gig at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where Perlman hopes to come face-to-face with President Trump. And how did these people end up hanging off of this cliff? Details of the terrifying rescue coming up. Welcome back. Oz Perlman, better known as Oz the Mentalist, is the go-to entertainer for the rich and successful. His mentalism has floored the likes of Joe Rogan, Richard Branson, and Steven Spielberg. And on Saturday, he'll host the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where he might have a chance to do the same with a sitting president. President Trump has decided to attend the dinner this year. Our chief Washington correspondent, John Karl, caught up with Oz Perlman to see what he has in store for Washington.
So you're doing the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
I sure am.
Why? Why? I think
I know it's not because of how much they pay you. I mean, I used to run that organization.
Are you reading my mind right now?
Yeah.
I think it's an incredible opportunity just in terms of being in a room full of skeptical journalists. That is my bread and butter, to amaze people that like getting to the bottom of things. And I think just in terms of the opportunity of seeing, just the eyeballs that are going to see this and the chance to create an incredibly memorable moment with the most powerful person in the world.
I mean, Trump is going to be there. I mean, that's what he says. He's been at the dinner. He's never been there as president.
Right. And people, when I was booked, which kind of the details of how this works, it was several months ago, and they said to me, it's unprecedented. President Trump has never attended one of these while in office, so he probably won't. And I, at that first call, said, he absolutely will. And they go, how do you know that? And I go, you know what I do for a living, right? Yeah. I get people to do certain things. That's what I do. I influence others for a living. And I said, I promise you, he will be there. And you could call it luck if you want, but it's causation or correlation. I knew he'd be there.
So you see this as a big, I mean, you're big. You've broken through.
I'm not big enough.
I mean, my God. But you think this could be...
This will be a career-defining moment.
For you.
Career-defining. This has the potential. You never know what will happen. So I want to explain to you, you know the president.
Yeah.
You know the president.
Oh, yeah.
There is no world in which I can get him to do what I want that he doesn't want.
Right.
Otherwise, I'd be hired by another country, right? He will do what he wants to do. He will think the way he wants to think. And I don't think he's easily influenced. So I think it's going to be the ultimate challenge. And it's also the most authentic, genuine reaction. Because when I do things, the easiest solution is always, well, they're in on it, right? They're in on it. That's what I would say watching. President Trump, everyone knows, is not going to be in on anything.
So I just spoke to him about you.
Really?
I mean, literally just minutes ago.
What did he say?
We came in here. He seemed a little confused.
Great.
He doesn't. I don't think he really knows what to make of you.
Good.
And I think that one of the big questions is, does he stay throughout your act, or does he give his speech and leave?
Right.
So your biggest challenge may be ensuring that he stays.
Yes.
How do you do that?
I can't tell you how many rooms I've walked into.
Yeah.
And I can tell you specifically, I do a lot of things for football teams. And when you go to football teams, you don't have a lot of access. I have walked into rooms where I can tell you certain quarterbacks, they explicitly said to their PR person, I'm not doing it. And they said to me, he's not doing it. And I said, that's great. Let me see what I can do in the room. And with only one exception ever, and you can find that out for yourself, you do your research, every single one of those people, during the time I was in the room, changed their mind. And I think the same will happen that night, where once he meets me, and we make it enticing, I think President Trump is ever the showman. And so I think he's going to want a chance.
He understands a big moment, and he understands a show. And
better than anyone.
And I think that's why he's intrigued that you're there. You're not political. I mean, I tried to find any evidence of anything of you political.
I'm not publicly political.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, privately, I have opinions, but publicly, two things. One, for this specific event and in life in general, I was brought on to not be political.
Right.
My job is not to come in and roast. I don't think that's what I was brought in for. I think I was brought in to unite. Unite in a sense of wonder and amazement. What do? I do things that blow you away, that you get to laugh, wow, gasp, and feel like you're a kid again.
Is there a political dimension at all to what you're doing?
I think the only political dimension we currently need, again, I'm not trying to sideswipe you, is to be a little more united in this country. Right now, the division is so vast, it's getting more and more polarized. How often can you find something that takes you out of the politics, that takes you out of hearing about a war, that takes you out of hearing about the economy? We're all hearing that, and I'm not saying to trivialize incredibly important.
It's all really important.
It's all important. Yeah. But at some point, important, bringing you down, my blood pressure's going up, I'm worried about gas, I'm worried about paying the bills, I'm worried about a million things. We need a breath.
Yeah.
We need to refresh. And I think that's why I was brought in. And I think that even in a good negotiation, you always need somebody at the other side of the table. And with the press and the fact that we're there to celebrate the First Amendment, the freedom of the press, the fact that this country has a freedom of the press, no matter what you do or don't think, I would take this country as the greatest country in the world over any other country. And I'm a first-generation immigrant who moved here and became a citizen. So I really do understand the American dream. I feel like I'm living it.
Have you taken any heat from anybody for agreeing to do this?
I think you're always going to take heat from 10% at each side.
And people say, why are you up there with Trump? You're legitimizing Trump.
Exactly. You're that, or on the other side, you better be nice to him, or you understand, you're going to have anybody at any side is going to be very vocal about their opinion.
Before the interview ended, Oz did a couple of tricks on me.
Let's picture this scenario. You're selling a used car.
Right.
Okay? You're selling a used car. And I need this to be something I know that you do in the moment. You make up a number for this car. See right now in your mind, what's this car? But give me the number that you're listing it for.
Okay, yeah.
Say it. Say the number.
$35,000.
$35,000. Spontaneous.
Yes.
All right. In your mind, you know you won't take 35 grand. That's what you listed it for.
Yeah.
So watch this.
Yeah.
Here we go. Think in your mind of how far down you'll go. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Shuffling of the feet, a little bit of awkwardness.
You might not get this.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
Right.
Close your eyes. So I'm going to make sure your eyes are closed. I'm going to show the camera.
Yeah.
Open your eyes.
Okay.
I think the first number comes in, and in your mind you said, they're going to lowball me. And when I said 15, you said, I'm not going to sell it for 15. You were a little angry.
Yeah.
I think you met in the middle then. I think in your mind you were like, I'll go back at them with 25. I think that's what you said in your mind. And then you go, where are they going to come up to? And you said, maybe they'll do 2021. You know what? Hold on. This is, I
want to know how this is.
This is the funniest part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
The funniest part of this whole thing. Close your eyes one more time.
Okay.
That's called an audible. What did you end up on? When we shook hands, we went in for the handshake and said, I'll accept it. What was your final lowest number you would have accepted?
$22,499.
$22,499.
Get out of here. Come on. So how do you, that's, okay.
What color was the car? What color was the car?
You know, it was
what color?
It was a burgundy. It was like a burgundy color.
Burgundy.
Yeah. So it wasn't really, it wasn't a red car. It was darker.
It wasn't reckless. It wasn't reckless. It feels to me this is based on the number. No, hold on. It's domestic. It's a Mustang, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Mustang. But what year is it?
What year is it?
Yeah, come on.
I know what year. Hold on.
Yeah.
What year is it?
That's unfair. I'm being unfair to you. But that's insane that you knew it was a Mustang.
1968, isn't it?
Come on. 68, because that's the last of those classic Mustangs.
I knew it.
That's why the price is high.
That's why, I would have gone 27.5, but I'm a better negotiator than you.
And it's in pretty good shape. I don't own it, but, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And when it was over, I brought Oz into the ABC newsroom in New York, where before long he attracted a crowd and got inside the heads of a couple of my colleagues.
It's Pele, isn't it?
Oh, wow. Whoa, that was it.
Really impressive stuff. Our thanks to John Carl and Oz Perlman for that conversation. Coming up, Spotify reveals its first ever list of the most streamed artists of all time. We'll tell you who made it to the tippy top. And the king of pop's son, Prince Jackson, joins us tonight. We get a sneak peek into his father's highly anticipated biopic, Michael, that's out in theaters nationwide this weekend. New England Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel spoke to the media tonight ahead of the NFL draft. The New York Post published photos appearing to show Vrabel and longtime NFL reporter Diana Rossini prompting questions about their relationship. Vrabel said this week that he would not be with the team on the third day of the draft this weekend and would be seeking counseling. Vrabel said more about his priorities a short time ago. Let's take a look.
My previous actions don't meet the standard that I hold myself to. They don't. And what I believe is best for the two most important things in my life, my family and this football team, is for us to take the necessary steps to work together and to give them what I told them I'd give them, which is the best version of me.
Rossini resigned from The Athletic less than a week after the pictures were published. And we're following the daring rescue of tourists who were forced to scramble up a cliff for safety. Did your favorite artist top Spotify's first ever list of the most streamed artists of all time? And we think you're going to like this major dancing with the star cast announcement. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. A daring rescue along Australia's coastline. 7 tourists, including 3 children, were walking along the shore when huge waves cut off their path. They climbed up the cliff in an attempt to find safety. Officials said a helicopter would be too dangerous due to the waves, so rescuers dropped the rope down 130 feet, finally bringing them to safety. It's a love story for Taylor Swift and Spotify. Today, Spotify published its first ever list of the most streamed artists of all time, and topping it all was the showgirl herself. Not far behind was the Puerto Rican superstar Bad Bunny. In 2025, he was named the streaming giant's most played artist of the year for the 4th time, dethroning Swift, who held the title in 2024. Other artists include Drake, The Weeknd, Ariana Grande, and Justin Bieber. A gold pocket watch from Titanic's wealthiest passenger sold for $800,000 today at a Chicago auction. The pocket watch originally belonged to real estate developer John Astor, who died when the ship sank in 1912. He originally bought the watch from Tiffany. It still tells time today. The New York Mets' bleak losing streak finally ended last night. After 12 games, pitcher Luke Weaver struck out Minnesota Twins' Byron Buxton. Weaver told reporters it was a sigh of relief. However, the Mets' victory wasn't celebrated for long. In another misfortune, Mets player Francisco Lindor had to exit the game after scoring a run in the 4th inning due to left calf tightness. Their manager said he would likely be put on the injured list for the first time in nearly 5 years. In a stunning turn of events, Mariners pitcher Logan Gilbert absorbed a 108-mile-per-hour liner. The ball went directly into the middle of Gilbert's jersey, lodging between the buttons of his shirt. The umpires immediately called timeout once they realized what had happened. Under the MLB rules, his catch was not an out. The Mariners went on to win 5-4. Dancing with the Stars revealed 2 reality favorites as the first 2 celebrity cast members for its upcoming season. Ciara Miller of Bravo's Summer House and Mara Higgins of Love Island will be hitting the ballroom for season 35, which will premiere this fall. This comes after Mara Higgins was recently blindsided in the finale of the latest Traitors season, and as a scandal erupts in the Summer House cast with Ciara Miller at the center. This announcement from ABC has fans cheering for their deserved continuing spotlight. A new movie about Michael Jackson is giving audiences a front row seat to the king of pop as never seen before. The biopic Michael chronicles MJ's rise to global fame, starting from the discovery of the Jackson 5 to his transition into a solo artist. And fun fact, Jafar Jackson, who plays Michael in the film, is the late singer's nephew. Let's take a look.
Just have all these songs in my head. Just gotta get them out.
And joining us now is one of the film's executive producers, the eldest son of Michael Jackson, Prince Michael Jackson. Prince, so great to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
So your dad, having been such a public figure, an icon really, a lot is out there about him already. What can people expect to learn about the king of pop in this film that they don't already know?
I think one of the most magical things about this film is for those of us that were lucky enough to grow up with the Jackson 5 and the Jacksons, hopefully it will reinstigate that feeling of nostalgia and fun and family. And for those of us like myself and younger that never got to experience that, I hope that it contextualizes the growth and the rise to stardom and the hard work and effort that my father put into it, my father and my family, and overall just be a really fun, entertaining time for children of all ages, from 9 to 90, you know?
And I imagine that the making of this film was very personal and tough at times. It was also Jafar's first acting gig. And what was the process like in telling your dad's story?
I mean, first and foremost, authenticity is the biggest challenge in any story, and especially my father having such an incredible life that spans 5 decades of him being at the top of his career. We wanted to approach it from a way that audiences, again, of all ages, could understand who he was as a person. We all know the story of the King of Pop, but I think this was our goal, was to tell the story of Michael, how he started from the small home they grew up in Gary, Indiana, to arrive at the biggest stages and the biggest platforms all around the world. And the research that we started off when I met Graham King in 2019 and or beginning of 2020 sitting down and speaking with various family members or people who worked with him and knew him, and I had heard a lot of these stories growing up, but when you approach these conversations with a perspective from a research point, I feel like it pushed them into a conversation where I learned so much about my dad that I maybe had heard before, but I didn't truly appreciate until I got to see it in person.
Would you be able to share one of those things that maybe you were learning for the first time about your father?
Well, I had always heard from my dad and from the family how much work it took to get to where they are and where they were. And for me, hearing those stories, seeing them and seeing it emulated in my cousin Jafar and him taking all of that work and dedication and time really put it into perspective. You know, this was not easy to achieve, and to the levels that they achieved and how much work and dedication went in there, all while being a family man, being a man of the people and giving back. I don't know how he did it, and I don't know how Jafar's done it, but I'm just blown away. I'm inspired, and I'm very proud.
Of course, this is a family affair. Tell us how it was watching your cousin Jafar transform into this role of your dad.
One of the greatest experiences of my life, growing up with Jafar as we did at Havenhurst, as siblings, as cousins, making home movies, to now here we are making a major motion picture about my father, his uncle, someone we both love very much. I had gotten the benefit of seeing Jafar's kind of transformation over phone, like pictures that I had seen on a phone or a computer, but the first time that I saw him in person in his hair and makeup was really an emotional shock, because I had not seen my father in a long time, and to see him, Jafar just embodied him and brought him back in that moment. And it was difficult to maintain and keep composure, because I really just wanted to give him a hug in that moment, but I had to tell him, like, Jafar, I'm proud of you, you're gonna do great, but I need to take a little step outside and get some air.
Understood. And of course, the Jackson family is a big family, lots of cousins. What's their reaction been about the movie?
I think it's been overwhelmingly positive. During the production of the film, a lot of our cousins and family members came to watch the performances, or they came to watch Jafar perform. And from the beginning, I think as family, we're very supportive, and we were every bit confident that Jafar would perform. But I'm happy to say I think that Jafar greatly exceeded our expectations. I only speaking for myself, I am blown away with what he has done here.
With all the amazing accomplishments that your father had in his life, he was also surrounded by controversy. What do you hope that people around the world and his fans take away from this movie?
I think that my father is probably one of the most misunderstood people out there, and I hope that you get a glimpse into the life and the cause and effect that made him who he was. I know when I finished reading the script early on, for me, it felt like a culmination of who my dad was, because I had heard these stories growing up that he had told me himself, or that other family members had shared with me. And to see it packaged in a way with, it's like a beginning, middle, and end, it made me closer to the story in a way. Also, just having the benefit of reliving it with my cousin on production, or in production on set, was a really, honestly, a therapeutic experience, and one that I'm eternally grateful for.
You have a nonprofit that was inspired by your father, and you're very passionate about it. It's called Heal Los Angeles Foundation. Tell us about it.
So I take great inspiration and pride in my father and everything that he's accomplished. And one of the most important things I feel is he is the greatest of all time, always will be, but he still made time to give back and used his platform to highlight social needs that we all need to come together. And that's where we take inspiration at the Heal Los Angeles Foundation, is we want to inspire young people to be their best and to give them the tools that they need to succeed.
You brought several families that you helped through the foundation to the LA premiere of the movie. What was that moment like for them?
So special for me, because I started, John Mudo, the co-founder of Heal Los Angeles, we've known each other for 10 years. We've been working together for 10 years. When I graduated from Loyola Marymount University in 2019, is around the same time we started the development on this Michael film. So the development of the foundation and my father's film have kind of gone hand in hand. And working with the families at Laredo Street Elementary and hearing their excitement for my father's film coming out, and sharing little tidbits, maybe when I shouldn't have with them, was really cool. And so to bring them there, for me, I always want to try and bring in that sense of philanthropy and charity to anything that I do. And it just felt like such a natural tie-in to bring these families from the school that we serve. Michael Bush was the costume designer for my father. He designed the suit that I was wearing, and actually the armband was made out of the fabric that my dad would always wear, the red corduroy shirt. And that was my childhood. Like, if I hugged my father, that was what he was wearing. And to have a piece of that and share it with the kids and the families meant so much to me.
Signature Michael Jackson. Prince Michael Jackson, we thank you so much for joining us. Michael will be in theaters starting tomorrow. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us.